Remember the days when people used to slash at each other with great big metal swords and just, well, it was entertainment. Well, I hope you find this is entertaining because this is the inspiration for my latest painting. Let's become gladiators. Safety first. All right, Max, you ready? For those who are about to die, we salute you. Go. Ah. Ah. Stop. All right. Who is the winner? Put the name in the comments below. What do you reckon? Cool. So I'm using a Pentel pen. I've sealed the canvas, and what I'm doing now is I'm just putting in some of the base lines so that I can then detail that a little bit later with the paint. But these are sketch lines at this stage, which are fine because that's all I really need to do at this point, just to sketch it in. It makes sense to have some sort of guidelines. So if I just slowly direct some of the greaves, these are his shoulder guards, and then if I go across to, you know, he's got this sort of chest emblem kind of thing. That sounds fine. His pecs come into there somewhere. We've got the lines there. He's got pretty big arms actually. His shoulders come out to here. I'm sort of picturing this pretty muscular sort of a guy that's potentially, oh, he might have just won a battle or something, you know, and he's looking at just relaxing now that he's slayed his opponent. So I think he's going to be quite a character. I'm actually going to quite enjoy doing this fellow. He's got these awesome sort of abs that come out here somewhere, and then he's got this sort of belt buckle thing that comes across, and then he's got this sort of, well, I guess you call it a leather skirt, and there's his shield looking here somewhere. Center of the shield sits, I suppose, about there, just so it's got some perspective. He's got these pretty cool looking V going on here. That's it there. His arm would sit sort of somewhere behind here. Okay, now he's got these muscular legs. Try and get that line in there correctly. I need that line up there. And then your sword will go in there like that. His hand will be gripping the sword, something like that. Again, he's got these greaves that are going to be sort of protecting his forearms. Well, greaves legs, I don't know. Forearm protectors anyway, let's call them forearm protectors. You can sort of see the light coming probably from the left hand side. It's So when I paint it, this side will be in shadow, and this side will be the light coming across here, shadow on this side here. Now if I just detail his face a bit more, his eyes will sit in there, out there, there's his nose guard, his nose will be sitting here, and then if we bring this down a bit more, I think I might have to cover that bit up there, that's okay. Protector there. Okay, just get that cheek right. Got this pretty muscular neck. I can kind of picture the muscles coming out there, and then he's got these pretty amazing biceps. I wish I had biceps like that, that'd be cool. Right, now we get some perspective into his chest guard. Okay, a bit of shadow there on those pecs as well. Okay. Okay, time for some paint. Let's go. So these are the paints that I'm using to block in the first layer as an undercoat. I've got titanium white, Turner's yellow, gold oxide, dioxazine purple and burnt umber. And so now if we look at the image, I'm just going to use some of the gold oxide and burnt umber just to put in some of the structure to his body. And I'm going to use just a flat round brush, and primarily just trying to block in some of those colours for now. I'm not too worried about tones and shadow and things. I just want to get the basis in so I can understand the anatomy of where I've got to go next. So I'm going to have maybe the Colosseum or something like that in the background, so I'm not too worried at this stage about the background. I'll probably put that in the next step. So his face sits in there somewhere. That'll actually be in shadow, but that's okay. Again, just trying to get some colours in. And then we use a bit of the titanium white just to sort of block in some of those basic shapes. This is what I call the block-in stage. And the block-in stage is important because what allows the other colours to sort of go over the top and make the layers of where the design then starts to create itself. So it's all part of the process, really. Unfortunately, you've got these, I'll call them ugly stages, which sort of have to go through this process before you can get to the fun stuff. So I'm just mixing up my darker skin colour with burnt umber and dioxazine purple, and now I'm going to work on this section here, which effectively is going to be, well, I'm going to work on all the flesh tones first, just sort of getting those darker tones in. And I think it's important because then I can just shadow the whole arm like that. I want to keep those dents in his shoulder guard. That's pretty important actually. So I'll just put those little divots through it now in the dark tone. Then when they come out later, they can be all highlighted, look really nice. So that'll do for that darker tone. And then we've got a bit kind of under his pec there. And just darken him off. Yeah, just trying to work out where it goes. I think what I'll do is I might cut across at an angle in there like that, giving those profound kind of abs. The abs that we'd all like to have. Well, who knows, some might. I think in there, that'll be good. I think we'll, I don't get too ridiculous just yet. I might might make up a mid-tone, I think, for that part, and also part under his arm there. Just leave that there for now. But what is important, I think, next is the shadow that his cloth thing gives him. Just sort of a, I want to get that nice blocking of colour. It's quite important actually, because it shows the material, and as a result it shows the it also shows the curves of the body, because the material wraps around the body, if that makes sense. So okay, that's really cool. It's looking a bit more structural now. I like that. I'll block that all in, I think. Alright. Let's see if we can work on this area of pec here. I think in there. There we go. And then I'll put the bit now I will blend it a bit more, but I'm just trying to get those very dark tones involved here. So let me just see if we can, just trying to work on the abs. Just saying, don't need too much shadow per se. There's just little dabs of muscle here and there that show the depth. But I'm going to remember the light's coming, well, of course it's from the top. So any shadow, of course, will come from below, and that'll give the depth of the, or in this case, muscle of the stomach. So, okay, I'm gonna go here, go there, and I might even just block in part of that arm. Nothing too major because I still want reflected shadow, but somewhere there. And start to deepen his wrist area. That's starting to look a bit better. All right, let's have a look. So if we now mix, say, let's see and get a mid-tone going of that dark and the light, the colour that I used previously, without getting too, what's the word, muddy. You don't want to go muddy, but somewhere there is good. I don't want to lose those shapes. Same token, I don't want it to be hard and cut either. It's got to be sort of flush. Okay. Let's keep going like that for a little while. Next, I'm just going to mix up a tiny bit of the titanium white with my previous colour, and we'll just put some highlights in here because I think we need to sort of get some light going before I blend it. So let's see how this goes. Sort of go across his chest there. Too much at this early stage. Not there. And then we've got this ab here, which sort of has that kind of shape to it. You just have to sort of follow where the anatomy sits and imagine you've got the right light hitting at the right points. The light, of course, hitting from the left-hand side. This will start looking a bit more sort of realistic once I start getting some highlights in it that are blended. At the moment they're of course very, very rough, almost cartoony. That's okay. That's the way it is, unfortunately, at this stage. And don't worry if you're painting at home, if you're doing paintings at home, you know, rough in the early stages, that's kind of just part and parcel of doing a painting, really. You just kind of work through that. It's just a stage like everything else that needs to be understood, and then when you know what you're doing, you can understand why you're doing it, then it all kind of makes sense. So, there we go. Now if you need to sort of blend as you go, what I'm doing here, I'm just blending primarily because I'm just trying to, I don't want any rough edges even at the early stages. I'll put a wash over it of that sort of orangey browny tone, I suppose. Give him a nice glow to his abs. So I think that's looking pretty good. Let's just have a look what else we're looking at. We'll look at the forearm. I'm thinking the forearm here, where he's gripping the sword or whatever. So just blend it over there like that. Don't want to make him too pasty yet. It'll start looking pink and sort of powdery looking. You don't want that. At the same token, you don't want to lose those soft edges either, so it's important to blend the colour as you go, just so also you can understand there's a muscle that sort of comes up there in the leg. Okay. And this part of the leg would be kind of lighter, primarily because it's got a, well, there's a muscle that runs along part of that glutea. I'll look up the names. I've got to remember the names of the muscles. I forget the names of the muscles. But anyway, it's runs along that inside leg as well. So there'd be quite pronounced muscle tone in there. So that's good. Probably reflected light possibly. That groin area there, I don't know. Gonna try to see if that works. I think it potentially could. Alright, and now we've got to bring this leg here into, I think that section there probably would be in shadow, so I might just go back and just put that into shadow a bit, just like this. And mix it with the mid-tone. And I want to bring that section there into shadow as well. I don't really want any light in there. I might use a bit of purple or something, just to sort of tone it off. So I haven't got, I don't have to worry about that anymore. There we go, bang. Never have to think about it again. Woohoo! Excellent. I can just go like that. That'll be behind the frame there anyway. I'm not too worried about that sort of stuff. Okay, that's cool. Might just make it a little bit darker. Just to be a shadow behind there somewhere. There might be some shadow across his leg with the shadow shade of the material that's above his his waistline. So, okay. Now, do I need to do anything with that arm? I think so. Just not sure how much shadow I really want to put in there versus any lighter tones at this early stage. But I think we need something, so let's just have, let's go with a darker tone here, I think there. A little bit lighter perhaps, not too much, that'll do. And just the indication of muscle at this stage, because it's in shadow, so we don't need to worry too much about that. I'll just go up there. Okay. It's looking far too pink, but I can fix that. Okay, I just want to get something on his hand, I think, first. Now I want to get the darks into the hand first. So if we go, hang on, let's just get some darks into this hand area. I'm just going to start with the top of his sword, just so I've got a tone to work with before I get too carried away. And then his hand would come up something to there. And then you've got that first knuckle here. That's good enough for now. And then we go there, and then that part there, this section here, would be in shadow. I don't want to lose the shape. Finger goes up there. Okay, I'm happy with that. I'll just put my shadow on the wrist guard thing. That'll do, that'll be fine. Okay, now I put some light on the hand. I've got a bit on the thumb, just where the light would hit, and then these angles here. Maybe sort of control. You've got your back of your wrist, goes to there, and then your knuckle. It's quite pronounced actually, that knuckle. I'll just come, if you look at your own hand, you'll see there's a design on that knuckle that shows it quite pronounced. And then this finger would come over like this. Okay, I'll have to play with that hand a little bit more, but let's try a bit more of a highlight on that leg there. Okay, let's have a look at him now. I'm not interested in anything other than his exposed flesh. Yeah, I think that's good. Just might focus on his lower legs, I think. Alright, so if I work on this lower section of his torso, I think this all would be in shadow. But please note that I want to keep the angle of that internal muscle of the leg, just so it doesn't make him look like he's got these powerful thighs, and I don't want to lose that sort of shape to it because it's very important. Okay, so then I think this part here is too pronounced. I'm thinking it needs to come back like that and then in like that. That's it there. I'll shadow that later. That's okay. And then blend there. Yep, that's okay. I'll blend that over with some wash later. Right, now, next. So I'm just going to work on his face, and a lot of his eye and all that is in shadow. So I'm going to have to, let's put a bit purple for my liking. I'll probably just come back a bit on the purple. Hang on a sec. Looks like he's got a blower. Looks like he's been in a fight. He probably has been in a fight. He's a gladiator. Alright, so let's have a look. Don't want any thick paint at this early stage, primarily because I don't want to wreck my end product, which will be smooth facial features, because, well, all faces have to have a very smooth technique, even on this small scale. Just like, you know, there's my finger, so it's only quite small. But anyway, even then, the basics would be the same. So if we follow the nose structure here, that would be in shadow from above. And then they've got the meniscus there of the cheek coming down. And it's pretty important to show that shape of that facial guard. Then we've got the beginning of his bottom of his lip there, and that would come over, shadow once again, and then come around like this. Effectively that face is in shadow, more or less. And then it's pretty important to get the cheek, and it comes down to the mouth, down to the lip, and then around to, it's got quite a strong chin. And this section here, it's going to go straight down like that. See the edges, that's fine. Okay, so I've got his basic structure in now. You can see his abs and muscles and things. And what I'm just doing now is I'm just using that's actually the edge of my brush container, and I'm just positioning some horizontal and vertical features of interest. In other words, something where the viewer's eye can reach in and see this area here as a background rather than you know, some sort of indescribable sort of indescribable no, take that up. So just follow my hand. So you can see now that I've completed a lot of the background, at least fleshed it in. You can sort of see the Colosseum and the audience, and then there'll be a gate where he's walking out of there. You can imagine there's a bit of a path here. So now what I'm doing is I'm fleshing out the colours of his tunic. Effectively, his tunic is a very important part of this because it creates the depth of field for the rest of his body. So yeah, so these are I guess just strips of leather coming down there, and they'll form the structure of his hips and so forth. And then what I'll work on is the gold sections here, which will be his shoulder plate, chest plate, the shield, and the arm guard. And then I'll also work on his face and his helmet with his crest. So it's coming along well. I hope you're enjoying it. So this is exciting now. We're doing the gold, and I'm actually using, I think for the first time in my life, real gold. So I'm using dioxazine purple, burnt umber, cadmium yellow, Turner's yellow, and red oxide. And this will be the basis of this area here, the shield, his shoulder guards, chest guard, head guard, and so on. So what we'll do is we're just going to start quickly, just get this sort of tone. I just want a darkish tone just to see how we go. That's a beautiful tone actually. And with that, I'm going to carefully cut into that shield there. So I've got that shape going. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to build up the layers so that I'll get lighter. I'll just show you quickly how I'm going to do it, just so you've got a bit of an example. So then we go lighter like that, and then we get gold. Wow, this is going to be absolutely brilliant. This could be one of my favourite paintings ever. I just did this on a whim, you know, just did it on a whim. Go, oh, you know, it'll work out, it'll be cool. And, well, here it is. So, anyway, I'll continue on that way, and let's see how we go. So I've got his base colour now for his helmet, just working out where the lines go in relation to the shape of the helmet. There's some, his visor goes there, and then he's got these jaw guards that come down to about there somewhere. That's okay. The pauldron, which is a shoulder guard, has a lovely shape to it actually. It's almost like a shell that goes above the structure of the body itself. That's okay. Now I've done the shield, just the base colour there. And that's primarily the aspis, or if he's a hoplite, it will be called a hoplon. But this is all the gold that's going to soon form. And then of course we have the arm guards and the central kind of, it's just an emblem, isn't it? Just a buckle basically. The breastplate, I don't want to show that that's curved, so I might just flatten that out a bit. And we can put the gold on in a sec and that'll start to really pop. So you can see the mix of colours that I'm using currently. It's the gold oxide and burnt umber and so on. Yeah, I'm just going to touch a little bit of gold into that. Pure gold, isn't that beautiful? So nice. And come up to my picture here. Let's see what that does. Don't need much gold, just enough. I'll keep layering it up. Got to watch that shadow on the top part there. That's okay. Got to get some shape into the design and the pattern of his chest plate and his arm guards. Maybe I'll do that next, I'll just see. But the gold seems to work wonders. Nice, I'm going to add a little bit of titanium white, I think. Start to lighten that up now. It's coming together well. I don't know if I like his eyes so bright, I might dull them back as well. So a little trick that I use is to just tape up any straight edges, like for example the edge of this sword. So I've got a nice clean edge there. And what I'll do is I'm just going to run a mix of, been using here titanium white, burnt umber and a cobalt blue. And I've got this sort of tone, which is fine for what I need. So I just want to just give it a little bit of a shine. I don't want too much of a shine, don't want to be ridiculous about it. In there, and then right at the edge, some white where the frame will go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dip my water here and just blend it back to the hilt there. Hilt's there somewhere. That'll do it. Okay. So now because I want that dark from the edge, smooth like that, there we go. That should be okay. Let's see how we go. Take the tape off. Hope it's got a straight edge. That's it. It's not too bad. Nice. Okay, I'll let that dry, and then I will just give that more of a, I want to put a line down the middle, but that's okay. Coming together well. It's almost finished, in fact. Okay.